Hi, I'm Tim Showalter, owner of Hoosierboy Restorations here in Indianapolis, Indiana. Some people call me Dr. Tricycle. We here at Hoosierboy restore antique toys, antique furniture, anything that's metal such as gas pumps, Coke machines, furniture, whatever you have, we pretty much can restore it as long as it's not plastic. Today we're going to talk about tricycles. Some people call me Dr. Tricycle. That's because over the last 10 years we have restored hundreds of tricycles. And I've come across a lot of different tricycles. I get a lot of requests for information on the model, the make of tricycles, how to find parts for tricycles, how to install parts for tricycles, the best paints to use. During this series, we're going to talk about all of that here. Today, we're going to talk about tires. I get lots and lots of emails, phone calls about how to find tires, how to measure tires. Over the years, tires were made pretty much two different ways. From the late 1800s to 1940, tires were made out of what I call an extruded rubber or bulk rubber tires. As you can see, they came in different sizes. You can still get these today. It was pretty much a rubber hose. It's just a thick piece of rubber with a hole down the middle of it. And what they would do is they would take the bulk rubber and they would wrap it around the rim of the tire. And as you can see on this tire right here, if I can find it, you will always find a slit in the tire that is a nice straight cut. And that is where the two pieces of bulk rubber are brought together. Now what they did back in the day is they would run a metal wire all the way through the hole of the tire. They'd have a special machine that would pull the rubber apart while they brazed the metal wire together. And they would release the machine and it would shut close. This rim, for example, is from a tire from the 1920s. It is well worn, but as you can still see the tread. It still could hold up today. After World War II, they came up with a semi-pneumatic tire. This is an injection molded tire. It's a solid rubber tire like you would have on your car today. Has treads and everything. And in the middle, it has a hollow hole that just cuts down on rubber. And that's what you'll find on most of the tricycles that were made after 1940 or 1945, after the war. So let's get into measurement of the tires. Hopefully your tire and wheel before you restore it would look something like this. This is really a nice pristine tire that is probably from the 1960s, maybe 1950s. It was made by the Firestone company. You can see the Firestone. And if you can look on your tire, most of the tires had identification on their size. And right here, this is a 12-inch tire by 1 3/4 or 1.75 actually. And you would get those tires, if you look on your tire, there'd be a manufacturer most of the time and a measurement. Now, Firestone, Dunlop, Goodrich, Goodyear, Swan, all of those companies made tires for different tricycle companies. And most of them marked on their tires the sizes. Unfortunately today, I've been in contact with the companies that are still around that made rubber tires, and they have thrown those molds away just because nobody in the United States makes tricycles anymore. So everything has gone overseas. So unfortunately, we don't have access to these. So what are your options for getting a tire for your tricycle that you're restoring? Well, one option that you have is for a semi-pneumatic tire, you can go online. eBay is the best place to go, and do a search for Tricycle tires, new old stock. Now you ask yourself, what is new old stock? New old stock are tires that were made back in the day for tricycles that weren't ever used on a tricycle. They were used, you know, in factories and on the shelf. They were stock tires, but they were never used. Now you have to be careful on eBay because a lot of people call their tires new old stock, but if you look closely, there are wear patterns where they've obviously cut the rims off and are reselling their tires. So be sure to find out that from your seller that those are truly new old stock tires. I'd say most of them aren't, but they call themselves old stock. Now the problem with new old stock tires is that they were made 40, 50, 60 years ago. And what happens to rubber after about 7 to 10 years of being left out in the rain, the heat, the cold, is they turn into clay. So these tires, you could hit it with a hammer and they would actually fracture. And that causes a problem when you go to put them on. When I take off a tire, I have several different ways of removing the tire. One of the ways I do it is I will take it to the bandsaw and then I'll just run it up all the way to about 1/4 of an inch from the rim. I stick it in a vise and then I just break the tires off. And usually they'll break off into 2 or 3 sections. You can cut 2 points on either side. Just stick it in a vise and it'll break off. Another way you can do it is you can heat the tires up and then you can stick it in a vise again and they'll roll off. You don't actually have to cut them off. I'll give you the temperature range and times and everything for removing and mounting tires here in a few minutes. Now over the last 10 years, I have gone through dozens of new old stock tires that when I'm mounting them, I would heat them up, go to mount them, and then after an hour, hour and a half of struggling to get it onto the rim, it would end up breaking. And I'm out 40, 50, sometimes $100 a tire. So what I've done and had to do is go out and just contact different companies around the world trying to find manufacturers of tires that they can send me, and then I can I have them in stock and I can use them on tricycles and they work great. They're going to last another 40 or 50 years. It makes them a lot more pliable, easier to install. The other thing that we've done here is we've developed a machine that we use to install tricycle tires. Something that would take us an hour or more to install a tire, now we can do in a matter of 10 minutes. So it makes it a lot easier. Let's get into measurements of tires. Now, if I get a wheel in, usually they're rusty, the tires are crusty. Sometimes you can't read the information on the tire. So what you have to do is take out a measuring tape, which I have one right here. And what you want to first do is try as close as possible to measure across the front of the tire. And here I get a diameter of approximately 12 inches. Like I said, there was no standardization on those tires, but it's pretty close, 12 inches. They usually run inches, not half inches on the diameters. Now, if you cross measure the tire, this one looks like it is 1.75, close to 1 3/4 inch across. That's the way most of them are. Now, let's say you don't have a tire, you just have the rim. Well, I will put on my website, which there'll be a link to on this down below, that where you can measure the rim and the cross section of the rim, and then figure out what the tire should be. So let's take a little break. We're going to talk about how I'm going to remove tires, and I'll show you how we do that, and I'll give you a brief demonstration how we mount the tires. Thanks. Hi, Dr. Tricycle here. I'm going to show you how we warm up our tires or heat them up so we can mount them on our proprietary tire mounting machine. I picked this little convection oven up for around I think $12 at the flea market. It works great for tires that are 8 or 9 inches. Anything larger, you'll have to get a larger convection oven. The thing that I would recommend is don't warm them up in your wife's oven, because your food will taste like rubber for about a month. So do this out in your garage or your little workspace. And basically, I'm going to turn the oven on to around 275. I'm going to place it in here. I'm going to turn my timer on to about 30 minutes and let it warm up. I also purchased a little digital temperature thermometer for cooking, and I drilled a hole in the side for my thermocouple so I can get a more realistic reading of what the temperature is, because this is just a dial setting. That is something that is an approximate. I set it for about 266, that way an alarm will go off when it gets to that temperature, and then I reset it to about 270 and let it finish out. But to be very accurate, I picked up one of these little IR guns that you can get at any hardware store, Harbor Freight, Northern Tool. They range from anywhere from $20 to $50 and up. And it has a little laser pointer on it. And as the tire heats up, I just crack it. I shoot the laser onto the tire, and it tells me the temperature of the tire. Once the tire gets up to about 250 to 260 degrees, it'll be ready to be taken out and put on the tire mounting machine and then mounted onto the rim. So we'll be back in a few minutes. Hi, Dr. Tricycle back here once again. We're going to show you how our proprietary tire mounting machine works here at Hoosierboy Restorations. This is the way we do it. I find it easier for myself. You might have an easier way of doing it or a better way. If you do and you want to comment, put a comment down below. But here's a rim and an 8-inch tire, which is semi-pneumatic, so it's solid. It's a new tire. All I do is once it's been strapped in, I put it in the mounting machine and slowly pull the tire apart. Once it fits, release, and it's as easy as that. Just go through and undo all of the straps now. Okay, so once we're done, we just pull the straps out, and the wheel is on, nice and secure, ready for another 40 or 50 years of child play. Well, that about does it for today. We learned a little bit about tricycles, the history of tricycle tires, how to mount them, where to find them. And always remember, if you need any help with the tires or restoration, feel free to drop us an email. You can find the website down below, and feel free to give us a thumbs up and to subscribe to our channel. Again, this has been Tim, Dr. Tricycle, with Hoosierboy Restorations, saying happy pedaling.